Welcome to my board game QuickStart guide for Alchemy. This is the second video wherein I explain the rules of the game. Alchemy is a competitive game where you play apprentice alchemists who are sharing a lab and trying to impress their master by any means necessary. You win the game by scoring victory points, you score victory points by creating potions, and can sacrifice victory points to use the potions that you've already created. The end of the game is triggered when there are 2 or fewer unmade potions left at the center of the table. You can play the game using the full lab version of the rules, or a simplified version called the duel. I'll cover the duel version's rules first, and then describe the additional rules for the full lab version after. At the beginning of your turn, if there are fewer than 4 component cards face up on the table, reveal cards from the deck until there are 4 showing. If there are still potion cards face down on the table, you'll turn over a certain number of potions, revealing them. If you're the first player, you'll reveal 1 potion card at the start of your turn. If you're the second player, reveal 2 potions at the start of your turn. The third player reveals 3 potions, and so on, until all of the potion cards are face up. Everybody should take the time to read each of the new potion cards as they're revealed, and understand what they can do. You can take 2 main actions on your turn, which are to transmute elements and pour ingredients. On a single turn, you can transmute twice, pour twice, or transmute once and pour once, in any order. When you transmute, discard one of the face-up component cards, and add the corresponding number of element tokens to the cauldron on your playmat. For example, if one of the face-up cards was Brimstone, I could transmute that by discarding the card and placing 1 earth token and 1 fire token in my cauldron. When you pour, move one of the element tokens from your cauldron to the vial on your playmat. For example, if I had the earth and fire elements in my cauldron from the previous example, I could pour one of those elements into my vial. You can only move 1 token at a time. There are also several actions you can take at any time during your turn. You can discard the current contents of your vial. When you do this, you must empty out the vial. This is pretty wasteful, but sometimes you don't have a choice. For example, if I had 2 fire tokens in my vial, and I decided that I didn't want them there anymore, I could empty out my vial and start over. I can do this at any time during my turn, so I could do it at the start of my turn, and then pour an earth token into my vial. If you have the necessary elements in your vial to create one of the potions at the center of the table, take the potion card, place it face up in front of you, and transfer the element tokens from your vial to the card. These tokens now represent both victory points and available doses of the potion. This potion is now unavailable for other players to create. For example, if I had exactly 2 air tokens and 1 earth token in my vial, and nothing else, I could create this invisibility potion. I take the card and transfer the tokens I used from my vial to the potion card. This potion now contains 3 doses, and is also worth 3 victory points to me, unless I decide to use it. Once per turn, on your turn, you can also drink one of the potions you've created to gain its effect. When you do this, remove one of the element counters from the potion and return it to the central pool. If a potion has no more counters on it, discard that potion. You can't use a potion on the same turn that you've created it. For example, if I'd created that invisibility potion during an earlier turn, I could drink from it, removing one of its counters to gain its effect. The invisibility potion says, look in an opponent's hand, take 1 card and play it immediately, or take any element from their vial and put it into your cauldron. Since I'm playing the duel version, we don't have hands of cards, so if I chose to drink from this potion, I'd have to steal an element token from the vial of one of my opponents and put it in my cauldron. In the duel version, potions like this are your main way of interacting with your opponents. Now that I've consumed one of the invisibility potion's doses, it's only worth 2 victory points. After you've completed your turn, play passes to the player on your left, who replenishes any missing component cards, reveals potions, and takes their turn. The end of the game is triggered when there are only 2 potions left at the center of the table. When this happens, the current turn is also the final turn. Play continues until the player to the right of the starting player ends their turn, so that every player ends up taking the same number of turns. Then it's time for the final scoring. The winner is the player with the largest number of element tokens remaining on their completed potions at the end of the game. For example, if I ended the game with these potions, I would score 4 victory points, since there are 2 tokens left on each potion. Leftover tokens in your cauldron and vial don't count. Alchemy can be a very close game, so there are a series of tiebreakers listed in the manual if you need them. That's all you need to know to play the dual version. The full lab version adds equipment and action cards, which make the game more complex and unpredictable. The only other difference from the dual version is that you're only allowed to transmute once and pour once on your turn, rather than having the option to transmute twice or pour twice. You can still take the 2 actions in any order. You will have a hand of action and equipment cards. At the beginning of your turn, draw 3 more cards from the deck. In addition to your other actions, you may also play a single action or equipment card from your hand. When you play an action card, take the action described on the card. There are many different action cards, such as an attack that destroys another player's equipment, or a card that lets you add additional elements to your vial. The action card is discarded after use. For example, the action card Skim says, swap an element from your vial with an element in your cauldron. When I play this, I take that action and discard the card. When you play an equipment card, place it in the equipment space on your playmat. You can only have a single piece of equipment in play at a time, so if you already have an equipment card in play, you'll have to discard it when you play the new card. You can use the equipment's effect at any time during your turn, but you can't use an equipment card on the same turn that you played it. At the end of your turn, if you have more than 4 cards in your hand, discard cards until you have only 4 cards left. The full lab version follows the same rules as the dual for creating potions, ending the game, and scoring. This has been a Board Game QuickStart guide for Alchemy. Refer to your manual for additional information and clarification, and don't forget that the most important rule is to have fun.